In my last video, I went ahead and built a map for my new Roblox game. However, my game is now missing UI, which is by far one of the most important parts in any game, not just in Roblox. And I just managed to learn how to use Figma. So let's get over there. So the first thing I do is create a frame. You can either draw it in using the frame button, or on the side there will be any resolution you want. Then when you have your frame, you're going to draw in any shape you want with the box icon. Just drag your mouse along and create the shape you want. Don't worry too much about it, as you can always change it with the dimensions on the side of your screen. Alright, enough of the tutorial. You came here to see how I make it not to be teached. So next, all I did was duplicated it and moved the layer under the previous layer we had so that it goes behind it to be able to make the nice 3D effect. And as you can see, I made a gradient. And can you guess what the button will be before I finish it? So I then went over to UI resources for the stud image and duplicated a shape to make it the mask so that the stud image doesn't go over the button. However, it is used more of like an overlay. As you can see here, it stays with the button. Then when I finished making the studs on the button, I just went ahead and used soft light on them all. So now that's the stud effect fully complete and we are nearly finished the button. So I then flattened the image to make the stroke work around the whole button instead of it being separate where stroke would not work. And guys, just look at the difference it makes. So now it was time for the text. All I did was get the text button and dragged my mouse where I want it, and on the side of the screen I just changed the text size. And I also just made the text look nicer and made the same 3D effect as the button. And here's the finished result. What do you think? I then duplicated it and made the plot button and the units button. For some reason I couldn't find footage of the plot button, but it's okay because you will see it in just a second. So we now have all 3 buttons done. However, I will need to make more UI soon, but to avoid my game looking like this, oh my god, I need to make sure my UI is simple and not overwhelming. So now I need to put them into my game and quickly script them so they properly work. So I did just that. They now work and they are also animated. As you can see here, I think it came out very smooth. However, before I show you, I have to admit that I also scripted the plot system that was supposed to be for another video. However, I just couldn't stop myself, and let me explain it to you how it works. So in my game, I have 6 plots in total. And in my previous video, I mentioned that I put each plot into a folder and named them based on the plot. So now when a new server starts, every folder is assigned to that specific plot. Each plot has their own buttons and so on. Let's say 2 players join. They won't be given random plots, they will be given the plot that goes in order. So player 1 will get plot 1, while player 2 gets plot 2. This keeps things nice and organized. And as you can see here in game, I am assigned plot 1 because it's the first plot in order. So now that you understand how everything works, let me show you the buttons. The plot button obviously teleports you to the plot you have been assigned. I need to add a short cooldown though so players can't spam it. The market button also works and it teleports you to the market, and basically all the buttons work and I think they turned out amazing. Let me also show you the units button that teleports you to where you will be able to get the anime for your plot. And yeah, all the buttons work. Let me know what you think of them. But now it's time to move on to the next UI. So we could easily move on to making frames. However, to get frames in your game, you first need a button to open them. So with the power of editing, voila! It did take me a little longer than expected because I ran into some trouble making these UI. So I got some help from professionals in Discord and they told me what I was doing wrong. And yeah, this is how they all came out. And you of course know I had to animate them all. So now we have the buttons. So let me go ahead and now create frames for all of this. For me, it will be maybe an hour. But for you guys, it will be in 3, 2, 1, boom! Now you might be wondering what has changed. Well, let me tell you that a lot has changed. Let me go ahead and show you what. Let's start off with potions. Now the thing is, every time you open a frame for the first time, it takes like a second to load in. I have no idea how to prevent this. However, this is what the potion frame looks like. Next is the index frame, and I think this is one of my favorite frames out of them all. And this also reminds me to tell you guys that there will be in total 60 units on release. Quite a lot, isn't it? Then there's also the rebirth frame, which I think is simple but clean. It just tells you what you will lose and what you will get straight away. Now, finally, for the last button, which is the shop. Now, I obviously had to put in a lot of effort into this, as this is the main source of income for this game. I think I added enough. But hey, you can't hate me for the grind, right? Also, yes, I know. I used AI for the aura and also the apples. However, that is it. Nothing else is made by AI. I just can't make icons, and I couldn't find any for those specific things. And I use icons that I found on the internet. If you like how they look, I will have them in my Discord server. And talking about Discord, the codes will be in the Discord server also once the game releases, and there will also be a secret code for you guys to find. But that's not all. Let me show you guys the market. So we have Killa, Gojo, and Ichigo, and for obvious reasons I had to name them like this because of copyright, and I'm not trying to get sued. And my boy Ichigo needs to find a new barber, because I don't know what type of barber he goes to that makes his hair float. And I also added Sup Doggy's dialogue script, so shout out to Sup Doggy guys. However, I had to script it so that it opens the frame and doesn't just talk to you. So here's the frame. I might end up changing it at a update for the game. However, this will do for now. And every stall has a different type of shop. So here I'll let you guys have a look. Oops, I wasn't supposed to show you guys this, but now that I have, this is just an animation for the punch. What do you guys think of it? And now lastly, you might be thinking, why is this guy placing random blocks on the plot? Guys, let me show you. I think it came out amazing, and obviously there's sound effects, but you guys will need to wait for the full game to hear them. What do you guys think? So guys, that's all the UI I've made so far. However, I'm planning to make more, but I won't be making a YouTube video about it, as you guys would not want to see the same video twice. Which brings me to the last video. I have nothing to say really, I just can't believe how much support I have gotten. And I can tell you that I was not expecting it at all. And not only in YouTube, but we also managed to hit 15 members in Discord, which has started to become more active because of you guys. And finally, I can't forget about the subscribers. And guys, just looking at the number makes me smile. I can't thank you enough, but we still have a long journey to go. I'm gonna go now, but make sure to join the Discord server also, as the first 100 people will be given the OG role. Bye, guys!